So at the beginning of this story, we can see some people trying to kill a man together. This man was also trying his best to save himself from their hands. He starts beating all of them one by one. At one point, he kills them all one by one. And when he thinks he has killed everyone, he goes to a place and sits peacefully and starts smoking a cigarette. But then someone comes from behind and shoots him in the chest, killing him. And after his death, some more people come and remove his dead body from there. And they clean the entire place. But the bullet shell that was used to shoot and kill him had fallen right there. And that shell gets kicked by people's feet and slowly moves from that narrow alley into the city. And then we are shown a girl named Fumika, who works part-time at a restaurant. Actually, she wants to become a social media influencer. For this, she wants to meet with Katayama, a very big social media influencer. But when she tells him that she wants to become an influencer like him, he starts making fun of her. And ignoring all these things, he asks her to do drugs. But Fumika directly refuses to do drugs. But this guy keeps approaching her repeatedly. Actually, Fumika wanted to somehow learn tricks from him, or somehow work with him to become a star on social media. She was ready to do that. But this guy kept offering her drugs repeatedly. And while talking with this guy, she even missed her last train. And since that guy was going to do drugs all night long, Fumika was forced to do drugs with him. And finally, after doing drugs all night, when they come outside in the morning, Fumika was very frustrated. Because this guy had been talking nonsense all night long. Meeting him didn't benefit her much. That's why Fumika was very angry. She wanted to kick this guy and leave from there. But she doesn't have the courage to do that. Then when Fumika was going back to her house, while climbing the stairs, she suddenly trips and falls. And then she can see a bullet shell lying in front of her. And as soon as Fumika picks up this shell, she can see a vision of the gun from which this bullet was fired. Then, not understanding anything, she quickly puts this shell in her bag and starts heading towards her house. And when she comes in front of her house, she can see one of her friends standing in front of her door. Actually, her friend was telling her that today she can't go back to her house. And Fumika, seeing the cut marks on her face, clearly understands what actually happened to her. That's why she tells her, "Why don't you break up with him?" Saying this, both of them go inside the room. But then Fumika can see someone standing beside the door who was in a bloody state. That's why Fumika gets extremely scared and asks her friend who this person is. But her friend, looking back and checking properly, doesn't see anyone there. That's why she says, "Where? There's no one here." Then Fumika says this person is covered in blood. And after hearing all these words, her friend thinks maybe Fumika has done drugs. That's why she tells her to calm down. But when Fumika throws something at him, it goes through one side of this person and comes out the other side. And after seeing this, Fumika gets extremely scared and starts screaming, "Ghost, ghost." But after seeing this, her friend also gets shocked. That's why she keeps trying to calm her down, because she was thinking maybe this was happening to Fumika because of the drug effects. But a little later, when that ghost disappears from there, Fumika gets some relief. And then her friend receives a message. That's why she says, "I have to leave from here right now." Saying this, when she was leaving before going, she advises Fumika to quickly go and meet with a doctor. But then, as soon as she goes inside the room and locks the door, that ghost comes in front of her. And this time he was telling her, "Was it right of you to let her go?" After hearing this, Fumika gets much more scared. And she opens the door and tries to run away. But when that ghost sees she was falling, he grabs her hand and tries to save her. But still she falls down. Because since he was a ghost, as soon as he grabbed her hand, he directly entered her body. Now the most interesting thing is that there were two people in one body. Both of them could control this body. They could even talk to each other. Now Fumika tells him to quickly get out of my body. But the ghost couldn't understand anything either. He was saying, "Since I became a ghost for the first time, I don't really know much about this process either. So you'll have to give me some time." But Fumika was telling him, "No, I don't know anything. You quickly get out of my body." And then the ghost says, "All right, okay. That's enough for today. I'm coming out of your body." And when the ghost comes out of Fumika's body, Fumika says thank you to God because she thought the ghost might have left for life. And since she was still alive till now, that's why she says thank you to God. But then that ghost comes in front of her again, and this time he tells her that entering a human's body wasn't as exciting as I thought it would be. And after hearing this, Fumika gets even more scared because this ghost was standing right in front of her. That's why she gets scared and starts running away from there. But while running, she was also thinking whether she should actually call the police. But while thinking about this, when she comes down the stairs, she can see that ghost comes in front of her again. Actually, when Fumika goes 15 meters away from this ghost, meaning she goes outside this ghost's radius, then this ghost automatically teleports and comes directly in front of Fumika again. And now, after seeing him in front of her, Fumika gets even more scared. Because this ghost came here so quickly. That's why she quickly starts running from here too. Then when she runs into an alley, she can see her friend Mahoo, whom her boyfriend was beating up pretty badly. Actually, he was asking for money from her, and was beating her for not being able to give money. That's why she goes to her boyfriend and asks, "Why are you trying to hurt her?" And then her boyfriend tells her to try to keep yourself away from our personal matters. Saying this, he tries to leave from there with Mahoo, and Mahoo starts going quietly with him. But then that ghost comes to Fumika and again starts telling Fumika, "Do you want to punish this guy?" Then Fumika gets scared. But this time she doesn't run away in fear. And that's why that ghost tells her, "If you want power, you can hold my hand." But Fumika didn't want to hold his hand again and give him control of her body. That's why she directly refuses to hold his hand. But then this ghost comes and tells her again, "You've seen the condition of your friend's face. How many scars were on her face? Can you tolerate these things? Shouldn't you help her?" That's why finally, when Fumika goes a little further, she can see her friend Mahoo's boyfriend treating her badly again. That's why she's forced to hold this ghost's hand. And as soon as she holds his hand, the ghost enters her body. That's why she comes to her friend Mahoo's boyfriend with great anger. And when her friend's boyfriend was about to punch her friend, she grabs his hand and punches him hard, messing up his face. But this guy still doesn't become cautious. Instead, he starts threatening to kill her. But when he's caught and given another round of beating, this guy becomes completely lifeless. And after seeing this, her friend Mahoo became very happy. And then the ghost also came out of her body. But then that guy gets up from behind again and attacks Fumika. And he beats her up and tries to kill her by choking her neck. Although the ghost was repeatedly telling her to hold his hand. But even after trying so hard, Fumika couldn't hold his hand in any way. And after seeing all these things, Mahoo also gets extremely confused. That's why she takes a big piece of brick and hits her boyfriend hard on the head with it. Because of which her boyfriend becomes unconscious right there. And Fumika's life gets saved at the last moment. Now both of them were trying to leave from there somehow with each other's help. But then the ghost comes and starts telling Fumika, "Look, you should go and check whether that guy is alive or dead. Because does anyone hit someone's head with a brick like that?" But Fumika doesn't pay much attention to it. She just looks at him for a while. And after seeing this, Mahoo asks her, "Can you really see someone?" Then Fumika says, "Yes, I can see." Then the three of them go to a coffee shop together. And here, while drinking coffee, Fumika explains all the things to Mahoo. She says that the ghost in front of me, no one except me can see it, no one can talk to him, no one can touch him. And then Mahoo tells her, "That means the fights you did were actually done by the ghost, right?" Then Fumika says, "Yes, he can control my body. And by controlling my body, he did these fights." And then her attention falls on her hand, where there was a scratch. That's why she shows the ghost and says, "Look what you've done to my hand." Then she takes out her phone and starts searching how she can free herself from the ghost. And after seeing a few results there, finally she starts sprinkling salt on the ghost. But after seeing all this, the people around her started looking at her because they all thought she was crazy, and that's why her friend Mao tried to calm her down quickly, because the people around were staring at her, and then the ghost tells her, "I helped you and you're getting mad at me?" Then she tells him, "All right, now that you've helped me, quickly free me and get away from here, leave me alone." But this ghost says, "All these things aren't that simple. Do you remember that bullet shell you picked up earlier? I think my death happened through that same bullet, the bullet shell that you picked up." And as soon as she hears this, she takes the shell out of her bag and throws it away. She says, "I didn't know it was a bullet shell." But then the ghost tells her, "Actually, I don't remember anything about how I died. But I think my death happened through this bullet whose shell you now have. And when you picked up this shell, a connection was formed between your body and me." So now when Fumika hears that this guy was murdered, she becomes completely shocked. And then this guy starts telling her about himself. He says his name is Kudo, and before his death he was a hitman. And after hearing this, Fumika's condition gets even worse. This guy tells her that before his death, he worked for an organization. "I think some gang from that organization killed me. Now, until I take revenge for my death, my soul won't find peace. So we too will hunt them down and kill them one by one. But you just need to help me a little, because since the connection has been made with you, no one else but you can help me." Now after hearing all these things, Fumika, who was already very scared, directly refuses him and quickly leaves from there. Then Fumika tells Mahoo that she has no interest in taking revenge for some hitman's death. So I'm going to ignore this guy from now on, meaning I won't listen to anything this ghost says anymore. And when she says goodbye to Mahoo, he gives her a charm, and he tells her that if that guy comes there again, to quickly call him and inform the police about everything. Then she goes straight to a temple from there, and after throwing away the bullet shell, she starts praying to God, so that God would free her from this ghost. But then Kudo tells her from behind that he doesn't know how this process works. But the way you're trying, it probably doesn't work like that. But right then Fumika receives a message from Kataima where he was with a guy named Narumi. Actually, after seeing Narumi, Fumika becomes very excited. And then she asks Kudo, "Who is this Narumi again?" Then Fumika tells him that Narumi is a big social media star. He has more than 70 million followers. But then Kudo, after looking at his picture, says, "This guy doesn't seem good to me." But then Fumika says, "How much do you know about him? How can you say that?" But actually Kudo had forgotten everything. That's why even though he could recognize this guy, he couldn't tell about his identity. After that, Fumika comes to that bar where Kataima and Narumi were hanging out. Actually coming here, she sits with them and starts drinking. And very soon she clearly understands that they were both repeatedly trying to touch her, and when she gets heavily intoxicated here, her head also starts spinning, so she couldn't control herself anymore, so she decides to go home. She pays the bill at the counter, and when she was trying to go home, she couldn't even walk properly, and then Fumika clearly understands that they both probably mixed something in her drinks. And then Kataima and Narumi start saying from behind, "We never thought this thing would work so fast." And then Fumika looks at them both and thanks Kudo. She says, "Thank you, you already told me that they both mixed drugs in my drinks." Actually, this is what happened. When Kudo couldn't remember all these things, Fumika was about to leave from there. But right then Kudo remembered all these things. So he tells her, "Actually, the two guys you're going to, Kataima and Narumi, they both drug girls and make intimate videos with them while they're unconscious, and later blackmail them through those videos." And Kudo knows this because before his death, the organization he worked for used to make these drugs, and he had seen both Narumi and Kataima buying drugs from their organization many times. That's why he knows them very well. Now, even though Fumika wasn't believing his words at all, she didn't want to take any risks either. So she tells him, "If your words are true, then I'll beat them to a pulp." But then Kudo says, "How will you do this? You don't have that much strength." Then Fumika tells him, "Because I'll give you permission to enter my body." But then Kudo says, "Why would I enter your body? You don't even want to help me." Then Fumika tells him, "Because you don't want to help me either." But then Fumika says, "All right, you'll help me, and in return I'll help you." But then Kudo tells her, "I think the bar staff and even the bar owner are in on it with them." And actually that's exactly how it was. When they go to the bar staff mixes drugs into Fumika's drinks, and standing from a distance, Kudo can see all these things, so he signals and tells Fumika everything beforehand. Now Fumika tells them both, "I know you two mixed drugs in my drinks, so admit this and quickly surrender yourselves to the police." But after hearing this, they start laughing and making fun of Fumika. They were saying that the police can't do much to us either. So she joins hands with Kudo and makes herself much more powerful. And since Kataima was making fun of her a bit too much, first she beats up Kataima. Then she beats up all of them one by one like a professional fighter. But during this fight, Kudo beats up the bartender so badly that the bartender dies right there. And after seeing all these things, Fumika gets very scared, and she starts crying like crazy. And after seeing all these things, Kudo didn't know how to comfort her. So he tells her, "Don't worry, I won't let you go to jail in any way. Actually, we'll remove these bodies and destroy all the evidence, and clean up this whole place. Actually, this is what should have happened to these guys because they weren't good people at all. They were very disgusting types of people. God knows how many girls' lives they ruined. Actually, in the organization I worked for before my death, there's a guy who can very easily remove their bodies and erase all the evidence. Although that guy isn't a good person either, he'll get our job done." Then Kudo gives that guy's number, and Fumika calls him and says, "I know Kudo very well. I'm giving you an address, quickly come there." And a little later, a hitman named Kajra comes there. He comes and asks Fumika, "Are you here alone? Where is Kudo?" Then she tells him that Kudo has actually become a ghost, and now he can only talk to me and only I can see him. But Kajra was in a very serious mode, so he thinks Fumika is trying to mess with him. So he takes out a knife and starts going to kill her. But then Kudo warns her and says that he won't think for even a second before killing you. So Fumika joins hands with Kudo and makes herself powerful. With just one trick, she gets Kajira's knife to his own throat. And then she tells him, "Even today you can't beat me." And after hearing this, Kajra clearly understands that only Kudo could do this. Then Fumika explains all of Kudo's words to Kajra, and Kajra also starts his work. He loads all the bodies in a truck and starts leaving from there. But while leaving on the road, Fumika asks Kajra about Kudo's death. But then Kajra tells her, "I don't know much about this death. But a few days ago, our organization's owner died. After his death, his son started controlling all these operations. But when his son started doing illegal work, Kudo didn't like these things at all. And after hearing these things, Fumika tells him, that means that owner had him killed. But Kajra says, I can't say for sure because I don't know much. Then Kajra takes those bodies to the place where Kudo was killed. Then here he does all his work. And when Kudo can see this whole place, he also understands that this place looks familiar to him. Now after finishing the job, he drops Fumika in front of her house. And before leaving, he asks her, "Can you really see Kudo?" Then Fumika says yes. And so he makes a promise to never meet her again and quickly leaves from there. Then after coming home, Fumika thanks Kudo because if Kudo wasn't with her today, God knows what they would have done to her. And then Kudo tells her, "In my previous life, I killed many people. But after death, being able to help someone really makes me feel good." So Fumika makes Kudo promise. She says, "Then you promise me that after death, you'll remain a hero like this." So Kudo also makes a promise with her. Then Fumika falls asleep because she was very tired. Meanwhile, finally we can see the son of Kudo's organization's owner, who started doing bad things right after taking responsibility, which caused trouble with Kudo. He's now very stressed. He didn't even know whether Kudo was dead or not. And right then Kajra comes here and tells him that he wants to talk about Kudo. Then he asks him, "Why, have you met Kudo or has he called you?" Then Kajra tells him that Kudo's ghost has possessed a college girl and is doing everything through her. But these words seem ridiculous to the owner's son, so he starts making fun of him. But still, to get confirmation, he sends some of his hitmen there. However, Kajra was telling him not to send any normal hitmen there, because then he would kill everyone. But the owner's son didn't listen to his words and sent some normal people anyway. And after seeing all these things, Kajra looked at him with a very pitiful gaze. Then at night, some thugs arrive at Fumika's apartment. And when Kudo realizes this, he quickly wakes up Fumika from sleep, because by hearing the footsteps, he could tell that 4 people were slowly approaching his room, so he tells her to quickly grab his hand. And when one of the 4 men comes inside, Kudo very easily takes control of him and through his gun starts shooting the other guys. And the leader of these 4 standing outside could see that gunshots were happening inside the room, but he couldn't understand who the bullets were being fired at. So when he goes to check, he can see all 4 of his men lying there injured, and that girl is escaping from there. So after that, Fumika somehow saves her life and takes Kudo to the place where Kudo had died. But the most interesting thing is Kajra was already there. And Kajra tells him that I gave your address to those thugs. And after hearing this, Kudo gets completely shocked. But then Fumika tells him that because of you, my apartment got completely destroyed. Now you have to fix that apartment. But we can see Kajra, without listening to any of her words, pulls out a gun, and when he was trying to kill Fumika, Kudo grabs Fumika's hand and enters her body, takes full control, takes Kajra's gun, removes the bullets from the gun and throws the gun outside. And then a terrible fight starts between the 2 of them. But during the fight, when Kajra gets a chance, he takes both the bullet and gun and tries to shoot Kudo in any way to kill him again. But this time Kudo takes the gun from his hand and points the gun at Kudo himself. And as soon as he points the gun, he remembers how he actually died. Now Kajra confesses everything and tells Kudo that yes, I killed you. But Kudo asks him, why did you do this? Then Kajra tells him that when the new owner came and started working, we were all opposing him. But then you suddenly quit your job without telling us, which ended our rebellion right there. And the new owner immediately gave the order to kill you. That's why I was forced to kill you. Because if I hadn't killed you, they wouldn't have spared me either. And then Kudo remembers when Kajra came to kill him, he had given him a chance to escape. But actually Kudo had gotten fed up with his life. That's why he himself had said to shoot and kill him. That's why now he wants to give Kajra a chance too. But actually we can see Kajra starts crying, because he had also gotten fed up with his life. He too wanted to die just like Kudo. Meanwhile, the organization's owner got very angry because a mere girl had fooled professional fighters and escaped. But his fighter was telling him that her moves weren't like a normal person's. Maybe she truly does have Kudo's spirit inside her. Meanwhile, Kajra also tells Fumika to escape from the city, because the organization's head could attack her with people at any time. She could die at any moment here. But then Fumika tells him, "Why don't we finish off the organization's head? If you and I together can finish him, then neither will there be a threat to your life nor to my life. Besides, most importantly, Kudo's soul will also be freed." But we can see Kajra didn't want to do this job with her at all, because doing this job was quite risky. Here, Fumika could also die. But Fumika tells him that if you don't want to come, then it doesn't matter to me at all. I'll do this job for myself because they destroyed my apartment, and I won't be at peace until I take revenge for this. Saying this, she leaves from there with Kudo. But when Fumika and Kudo were on the road, Kajra comes from behind with a car, and he tells her, "All right, if you really want to die, then I'm also ready to accompany you." Now all three of them finally arrive at the organization. Here, first Kajra goes inside so that he can properly understand where and how many thugs there are, and how to fight. He can make a plan about all these things. And on the other side, Kudo and Fumika secretly come into that warehouse where weapons are stored. Actually, Kudo was watching everything from the front and was informing Fumika, who was staying behind, by telling her where everyone was, because even though no one could see Kudo, Kudo could see everyone. Doing this, finally somehow they arrive at the weapons warehouse, and here they take all the necessary weapons from there. And then they give information to Kajra. And a little later, Kajra comes and joins them. After that, Kudo enters Fumika's body, and Kajra and Fumika together start shooting and killing everyone one by one. We can see a very terrible shootout happens here, where almost all the thugs die. Finally, when the owner's son was trying to shoot at them, Fumika shoots him in both legs and makes him kneel down. Then Fumika comes in front of him and says that I want compensation for my apartment. But then the owner's son tells her, "What does this mean? Just for an apartment, you've destroyed my entire empire." And then we find out that actually Fumika didn't do all this for her apartment, but rather to free Kudo. After that, Kajra also shoots and kills their leader. And after seeing all these things, Fumika becomes very happy because she finally freed Kudo's soul. But she was also in a lot of pain, so she was screaming because all the nuts and bolts in her body had come loose. So when she starts limping towards her apartment, she thanks Kudo for everything. But then when she looks back, she sees that Kudo wasn't behind her. Kajra asks her what did Kudo say? Then she says Kudo has probably left from here. So Kajra becomes very happy. Then Kajra tells her that I'll pay for all the expenses of your apartment. After hearing this, Fumika thanks him and starts heading towards her apartment from there. Then we're shown a scene from a few months later. We can see when Fumika was going up the stairs, she finds another bullet shell. After seeing this bullet shell, a smile comes to her face, and thinking this, she puts it in her bag that maybe if she keeps it in her bag, Kudo will come to meet her again. And at such an interesting point, this entire movie ends here.